to get it out. He pounded it with a hammer forever, and it didn't do enough. It helped, but it didn't do enough. So it's a pretty bad little bend in one little spot.
Today we're going to try and get the bend out of this truck frame here. If you're not familiar, in the previous video in this playlist of this project, I was sitting in the GRADALL and I looked at the back of the truck and there was a flatbed on it, but the driver's side of the flatbed was higher than the passenger side, and I kind of suspected something was wrong. When we lifted that off and I removed the wood, we found a bend in the driver's side top rail. It's a pretty isolated bend, like it's in a very small concentrated area. It made me wonder if the guy that took the fifth wheel off this thing originally, since it was a semi, I wonder if when he took the fifth wheel off, if something didn't happen, it got caught and somehow he lifted on that frame rail, because not only did it bend the top rail, but it pushed in the side of the rear. So the bottom rear of that rail is pushed in. So we can't have that top bend for sure. We need to get it as flat as we can get it for sure, and we need to get the bottom bend out. I don't have a way to get that bottom bend out, at least right now. But the top one we're going to try and see what we can do. We're not going to get this thing perfect. It's never going to be as strong as it used to be. Anytime you bend metal, it stretches, and when you try and put it back, you're not putting it back the same. You know, it's definitely affected. So the thought process here is I want to use the GRADALL and a kingpin. Kingpins are made of extremely hard steel. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that kingpin and I'm rolling it down that frame rail, except for when, you know, I go too far and it slides out like that. It blows out of there, flies out of there. But I'm rolling this thing back and forth, and the idea is I have pressure on the rail, and as it ramps up the bend, we're increasing pressure. So at the peak of the bend, we get the most pressure from the GRADALL. That's the idea. I was hoping to gradually bend this out and maybe massage this back into place. Hindsight, I think there's a better way. You'll see later. But I did this for a long time, and we were making headway. We weren't making great strides. It wasn't happening fast, but it was working. So we kept going with it. You can see here, we're starting to get some progress where it's starting to come down a little bit. It's not fast, it's not great,
getting better,
but we are gaining on it. Now you see two jacks in there. What those jacks are doing is I'm trying to get them as close as possible to support the area that's not affected by the bend, because we don't want that, because it's going to have a tendency to bend down because we're pushing on that. Well, when you pull that up like that and you create that crown, that creates a very strong point right there because of that bend. So the flat part next to it is more vulnerable now. It's going to be more likely that we're going to bend the flat part out of shape than we will bend the 90 back to flat. So we keep going with this. You can see here what I'm talking about. We're kind of ramping up the bend, and my GRADALL weighs 24,000 pounds. Now the boom is out, so the farther we take the boom out, the less weight we're going to get, the less pressure we're going to get. Now we can't get 24,000 pounds. The only way we can do that is we had all four wheels off the ground and sitting on there. We just have the front wheels off the ground. But with the boom out this far, I'm not getting the full weight. So I started here, but when I start to realize I need some more pressure, I actually bring the boom in quite a bit more, and you'll see the tires get closer to the truck. This didn't work very well, but it did work. But anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. It's a lot of work. I'm trying to condense it and make it as fast as possible because I don't want to bore you with a bunch of stuff, but it was a learning experience for sure. I learned an awful lot about what not to do and what to do, and you know, anytime you're in the shop you can learn something new, it's fantastic. ain't getting nowhere. I ain't getting any farther.
No. I don't know what else to do.
I don't know. The thing is, I'm lifting the machine off the ground.
Yeah.
So if I lift the machine off the ground, well, I'm gonna try and shorten the boom up, get in here farther. Just make sure I don't run over that stuff.
I can move it if you want.
Maybe I can get some more weight.
Okay.
Try and roll it again.
Okay. Okay. Oh, let me get out of Dodge.
You gotta be careful, that thing can kick out in a minute.
Okay.
You know, we're just not gonna get the rest. It's there, but
If only we had Chris that came. If only we had Chris here that came to help us on that one build. Boy, he could really hit a sledgehammer. I'm like, good Lord, he really wailed on some stuff. He could do it. He hammered so hard, the one sledgehammer broke. The handle broke.
we're down to about 1/4 of an inch now. I don't know, something like that. Anyway, why don't you do this again? Right here.
Okay. Go forward. Go forward. Okay. All right, let me get out of the way. Bore you with any more of this, so I'll show you if it does anything.
I just kept after this with the GRADALL. My idea with the GRADALL was I'd have a lot of finesse with this because I was rolling it back and forth instead of like really putting isolated a ton of pressure in one place. And we got it really close. We got it to a point where I just needed to finish it off and level it out. And that's when I came up with this. And I should have done this from the beginning because I think this would have saved me a lot of time. It would have got better results, and it actually worked very well. So what we have is I've got the frame supported on a jack stand underneath this, but it is literally just holding it from moving. On the bottom frame rail, there is 2 pieces of 1/2 inch thick 4x6 angle iron. that's on the bottom of it. And then there's the 2 bottle jacks, and you see that 4-inch piece of C-channel on top of the 2 bottle jacks. So there's a piece of 1/2 inch plate under there. So what those 2 bottle jacks are doing, and that the 2 pieces of angle iron on the bottom, is keeping the top rail and bottom rail from just collapsing on each other. We want to maintain the distance. We just want to push down that one bent place. So I put the 25-ton jack on top. Now each of the other 2 I think are like 20-ton. So we got the 25-ton on top, and that's a piece of 3-inch channel and a piece of 3/8 chain wrapped all the way around. So now what we're doing is using the press, using the jack as a press, and it is pushing down on that frame rail. Now we were getting close to where I was as good as it was probably going to get, but I wanted to make sure we got this rail flat. I didn't want anything weird going on here. So you'll notice as we do this that the jack is pulling really hard at times, and then sometimes it's kind of easy. I thought there was a problem with the jack, but after editing and watching, I think what was happening was the chain was breaking over the edges, like where a link was just about halfway ready to come over, and then it would make it, and then it would get loose. But you may notice that in here, but it actually worked pretty well. You can see here the top 3-inch channel is starting to bend. I don't notice this yet. I don't know why I didn't put a second piece. Like, I backed up everything else, because when we're trying to move steel, right, you have to push with more force than it can take so that it'll move, but you have to back up everything that you don't want to move with more force than the force that you're going to use to move what you want to move. So it's ironic that I didn't even think about doubling that up until I noticed it was bending. But slow and steady, you know. I actually thought the jack was in bypass, like it was, I created more pressure, it couldn't lift anymore, but it wasn't that. I think it was just the chain was rolling over. But I'm pretty happy with what we end up with. It still isn't perfect. It's the best we're gonna get with what I have to work with, but I've learned an awful lot. So if I ever have to get into, oh, here, look, I noticed that the chains, that channel is bending, the chain's bowing it. But if I ever have to do it again, this will be a method that I'll try first, because we got more results in this amount of time than we did with anything else we did, because not only was it more controlled, but you know, it was more accurate, and I don't know, I like the way it came out for what it is. But keep watching, you'll see what we end up with, and I hope you guys enjoyed. That part looks good. Let's get a level. See how much we took out of the side. if any. I don't know. We had a 1-inch gap before. Yeah, down to about a 1/2 inch. So we pulled some of this out, but we didn't get all of it. We got that flat, but we didn't get this. So hopefully the cross members and the frame will pull this back, but at least we're flat now. I'm afraid to take the jacks out. That looks pretty flat though. Looks pretty good. All right, let's get them out and see what we got. It's got a little wave to it, but at least it's flat now. It's gonna be a weak spot, that's for sure. That is what it is. Oh well, we're gonna call it good. It's the best we're gonna get out of it. Even if, hopefully them cross members will push it back, and the double frame on that side will have this frame, the double frame for here, the cross members, and a double frame over there. So three times that thickness pulling on it. So hopefully it'll work. We'll see in time, I guess.